Elridge Hollow, a town cloaked in shadows where secrets whispered in the fog. The stories, chilling and persistent, clung to the town like cobwebs. The townsfolk bore the weight of their history, their eyes reflecting a deep-seated fear. They knew the truth outsiders dismissed as folklore, for in Elridge Hollow there lived a legend, a terror that stalked the night. They called him the Watcher, and he was always watching. It began with an unsettling encounter. Lucy Barrett was the first to report him that year. At dusk, she glanced out her window and saw him, a tall, unnaturally still figure in a dark coat. His pale, gaunt face was fixed on her window, his wide, unblinking eyes piercing through her. He stood there unmoving, his gaze holding her captive. Lucy, paralyzed with fear, could only watch. The moment stretched endlessly, her heart pounding in her chest. Then, as suddenly as he appeared, he was gone. The terror that gripped Lucy that night was just the beginning. The Watcher had returned, and he had chosen his first victim. Elridge Hollow would never be the same. The legend of the Watcher haunted Elridge Hollow for generations. Stories spoke of a spectral figure lurking in the shadows, a vengeful spirit bound to the town. Others claimed he was a harbinger of doom, his gaze a prelude to despair. To meet his eyes was to invite terror into your life. His unblinking stare, they said, could steal your sanity. The truth remained elusive, shrouded in fear and speculation. But one thing was certain, the Watcher was real, and he was always near. Those who saw the Watcher described an overwhelming dread. His gaze was like a physical touch, piercing their defenses and exposing their deepest fears. Some saw fleeting glimpses of their darkest secrets, others terrifying visions of pain and loss. His eyes seemed to hold the power to unravel their very souls. For those who dared to look, the experience left scars that time could not heal. The Watcher didn't just see you, he consumed you, and you were never the same. The most chilling part of the Watcher's legend was the disappearances. One day, someone would be living their life. The next, they were gone. Their belongings untouched, their lives abruptly interrupted. The only clue? A whisper of the Watcher before they vanished. Over time, the disappearances became a grim pattern. Each vanishing fueled the legend, deepening the town's fear. The Watcher didn't just haunt Elridge Hollow, he took its people. The gas station on the edge of town became a place of whispered fears. Billy, a young attendant, claimed to have seen him. One night, as he cleaned the counter, a chill ran down his spine. He looked up at the mirror behind the candy bars. There, distorted in the glass, was the figure, the dark coat, the unblinking eyes. Billy spun around, but the aisle was empty. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, mocking his fear. He tried to dismiss it as a trick of the mind, but the fear had taken root. The Watcher had been there, and Billy knew he would return. Sarah, a morning jogger, became another piece of the Watcher's puzzle. One foggy morning, she felt eyes on her. The unease grew with every step, a prickling at the back of her neck. She glanced over her shoulder, scanning the misty streets. There was nothing there. Yet the feeling persisted, stronger, more insistent. It was as if an unseen presence was keeping pace with her, watching, waiting. The fog seemed alive, hiding something just out of sight, and Sarah knew she wasn't alone. Mrs. Henderson dismissed the Watcher as folklore until the night he visited her. She awoke to a bone-chilling awareness. She was not alone. Her eyes flew open, and there he was. The tall, shadowy figure stood at the foot of her bed. His unblinking eyes pierced through the darkness, holding her captive. Time seemed to freeze as they stared at each other. Her heart pounded, the silence deafening. Then, as suddenly as he appeared, he was gone. The room was empty, but the fear remained. Mrs. Henderson had seen the Watcher, and she would never forget. The legend was no longer just a story. It was real, and it was terrifying. Mark Evans, a skeptic, set out to debunk the Watcher. He installed a camera outside his home, determined to prove the legend false. For 8 nights, the footage showed nothing unusual. Mark felt vindicated, ready to dismantle his setup. But on the 9th night, everything changed. Reviewing the footage, Mark froze. There, in the grainy images, was the figure. The Watcher stood for hours, his gaze fixed on the camera. The 10th night's footage was never recovered. Concerned neighbours found Mark's house empty, the front door ajar, a single overturned lamp the only clue. Mark Evans, the skeptic, had vanished. The Watcher had claimed another, and the town's fear deepened. Rumours of government involvement began to surface. Whispers of a secret program, Project Night Gaze, spread through the town. Conducted in the 1970s, the project aimed to weaponize psychic abilities. Subjects were pushed to their limits, their minds tested in dangerous experiments. The goal? To create psychic spies capable of remote viewing and mental manipulation. But the experiments had catastrophic consequences. One subject, known as Subject Zero, became the center of the whispers. His abilities were extraordinary, but they came at a terrible cost. He spoke of entities watching him, their unblinking eyes haunting his every move. During a risky experiment, something went horribly wrong. Subject Zero screamed, his mind seemingly extinguished. The project was shut down, its records sealed. But the whispers persisted. What if Subject Zero hadn't vanished? What if he had become the Watcher? Subject Zero's story fueled the town's paranoia. His abilities, once a marvel, became his curse. He spoke of shadows watching him, their eyes unblinking. During a final experiment, the connection spiraled out of control. Subject Zero screamed, his body contorting in terror. Then silence. The project was abandoned, but the legend grew. What if Subject Zero had become untethered, trapped between worlds? Watching, waiting, the Watcher was born. Michael uncovered a chilling connection between the Watcher and Project Night Gaze. The victims were all linked to the project. Former researchers spoke of Dr. Edward Collins, the man behind the experiments. Collins had pushed his subjects to the brink of madness. One night, Subject Zero disappeared in a surge of energy and light. A guard described the event with trembling fear. "He's still out there," the guard whispered. Trapped between worlds, watching, waiting. The Watcher was no longer a legend. The Watcher was a twisted reflection of Subject Zero's tormented psyche. Untethered from his physical form, he became a spectre feeding on fear. The disappearances were his desperate attempt to reconnect. But his presence only brought terror. The Watcher was everywhere and nowhere. The Watcher's true horror was the madness he inflicted. His victims were marked, their minds unraveling under his gaze. Nightmares plagued their sleep, his eyes burning into their thoughts. Reality blurred, paranoia consumed them. They became hollow shells, trapped in their own fear. The Watcher didn't just haunt Eldridge Hollow. He destroyed its people from within, and he was always watching. As the days turned into sleepless nights, the victims' grasp on reality slipped further. They began to see him everywhere, their minds conjuring his image in the most mundane of places. A fleeting reflection in a shop window, the play of shadows on a bedroom wall, the rustle of leaves in the wind. Everything became a potential manifestation of their unseen tormentor. Their visions became more vivid, more terrifying. They saw things that defied logic and reason, their minds flooded with images of their deepest fears, their darkest secrets brought to life in horrifying detail. Time seemed to bend and distort around them, moments stretching into an eternity as they struggled to distinguish between what was real and what was merely a figment of their unravelling minds. The townsfolk, once quick to dismiss the stories as mere superstition, began to whisper amongst themselves, their eyes filled with a mixture of fear and pity. They had seen the signs before, the slow descent into madness that followed an encounter with the Watcher. The final days, the days leading up to their disappearance, were the most terrifying of all. The victims, their minds on the brink of collapse, became consumed by a single terrifying obsession, the countdown. It started subtly, a whisper in the back of their minds, a growing awareness that their time was running out. They became fixated on numbers, on patterns, searching for meaning in the mundane. The ticking of a clock, the number of steps to their front door, the flickering digits on a microwave timer. Everything held a hidden significance, a clue to the timing of their inevitable demise. Their behavior became increasingly erratic, their actions driven by a desperate need to outrun, to outsmart a fate they could not comprehend. They tried to warn others, their words tumbling out in a torrent of fear and confusion, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. To the outside world, they were nothing more than victims of their own minds, their warnings dismissed as the ramblings of madmen. And so they retreated further into themselves, their terror amplified by their isolation. The night of their disappearance always followed the same chilling pattern. The victims, driven to the edge by their torment, would barricade themselves in their homes, their eyes darting to every shadow, every creak of the floorboards. They would try to fight it, to cling to the remnants of their sanity, but the pull was too strong, the darkness too overwhelming. And then, silence. The struggling, the cries of terror, the frantic pleas for help, all would cease abruptly, replaced by an unnerving stillness. When morning came, their homes would be found empty, their belongings untouched, their lives seemingly erased as if they had never existed at all. The only evidence that they had ever been there at all, the only testament to the horror they had endured, was the lingering sense of dread, the chilling emptiness that settled over the town like a shroud. And in the whispers of those who knew better, a single, terrifying truth would be repeated. The Watcher had claimed another victim, its hunger for souls satiated for now. The tale of Eldridge Hollow is a chilling reminder, a reminder that some doors are best left unopened, some secrets are better left buried. The darkness that has seeped into this town is a stark warning. It whispers of a terror that lurks just beyond the veil of our perception. A terror that feeds on our fears, our doubts, our vulnerabilities. If you have listened to this story, if you have allowed yourself to be drawn into the shadows of Eldridge Hollow, you may already be marked. He may have already found you. The signs, they say, are subtle at first. a feeling of unease, a prickling at the back of your neck, a fleeting glimpse of a shadow in your peripheral vision. But these subtle warnings are just the beginning. The more you try to ignore them, the stronger they become. The darkness feeds on your fear, your denial, twisting your perceptions, blurring the line between what is real and what is merely a figment of your unraveling mind. The stories of the Watcher are more than just folklore, more than just campfire tales meant to frighten children. They are echoes of a chilling reality, a truth that has haunted Elridge Hollow for generations. And now, that truth has been shared with you. Perhaps you dismiss this as mere entertainment, a collection of spooky stories woven together for your amusement. But deep down, a seed of doubt has been planted. You can't shake the feeling that something is watching you, that the darkness beyond your window holds something more sinister than you ever imagined. And that, my friend, is exactly what he wants. The next time you find yourself alone in the dark, listen carefully. Do you hear the floorboards creaking? Do you see a flicker of movement in the corner of your eye? Do you feel a cold breath on the back of your neck? A presence that sends shivers down your spine? He is there, watching, waiting. He is patient, relentless, and he never blinks. He feeds on your fear, your curiosity, your every glance in his direction. So heed this warning, my friend. Resist the urge to look for him, to seek out the truth behind the stories. For the truth, once seen, can never be unseen, and the gaze of the Watcher, once met, can never be forgotten.